Hello everyone, this is Adarsh Agarwal from Actuators Educational Institute and I'm here to talk about FRM Part 2 examinations right now. So first of all, many congratulations to the people who have already cleared their FRM Part 1 examinations and starting to give a head start to your FRM Part 2 preparations. We are going to start with that only. We are going to talk about the overview of part 2 examinations, what are the subjects in part 2 examinations, so differences from part 1, what is the exam window, the timeline required to prepare for part 2 examinations, and how different it will be from your part 1 examinations. And for people who are yet to appear your part 1 examinations but are also concerned about your part 2 examinations, this video is for you as well. So not wasting much of your time, I'm gonna start with FRM Part 2 examinations. We have already covered what FRM is during FRM Part 1 video, so I'm not gonna talk about what FRM is right now. We are gonna straight away jump to FRM Part 2's overview. उसका क्या FRM Part 2 है, talking about the subject. Okay. So FRM Part 1 में हम लोग के 4 सब्जेक्ट थे. Now we have 6 subjects in FRM Part 2. Okay. So these 6 subjects are distributed according to specific risk wise. We have studied in FRM Part 1 कि there are different risks, market risk, credit risk, operational risk, liquidity risk होते हैं. So इसी के लिए नहीं चाहिए. Okay. Yeah. So sorry. So there are different risks, right? So उसी risk accordingly it subjects distributed. Your first subject is going to be the market risk. Second subject is going to be the credit risk. Third subject is going to be operational risk. Fourth subject is going to be liquidity risk. Fifth subject is going to be investments risk, risk management and investments. And the sixth subject, which changes every year, most probably 50-60% of the syllabus changes, even 100% can change as well. It is the current issues. I think that is one of the most interesting subjects, I believe, from my perspective, क्योंकि अपने को पता चलता है कि what is the current important hot topics in the risk industry that people are talking about. उसका भी एक subject है. Imagine how real world scenario, how real world this course can get. Okay. So let's move on to much more detail about these subjects. How does the exam format looks, exam window looks. So overview के लिए मैंने लिख रखा है subject के बारे में discuss करेंगे, format, difference and challenges, which I've already told you. So nothing new in here. Let's move to another page. Yeah. Now, as I mentioned, there is going to be 6 subjects. Here we have listed all the 6 subjects. So first one is market risk, right? Credit risk, operational risk, liquidity risk, investment risk, and then current issues, which is marked in red because it is a hot topic, right? Okay, so that is where current issues, and it changes very frequently. Now, let's give a brief overview of each subject. I'm not going much in detail about the subject details की मतलब उसमें क्या क्या contents है. Just एक brief overview देते हैं. Market risk. As many of you already know, people who invest in market, there can be risk due to changes in investments, due to changes in interest rates in the market, different investments, equity markets या कहीं पे कुछ भी change है, तो उसके वजह से जो market risk we face is covered in here. We'll majorly talk about VAR, value at risk, उसका upgraded version, more advanced studies of VAR, extreme value theory. We are going to study about term structure of interest rates much more in detail, right? तो वो सब market risk में covered है. Now coming to credit risk, credit by the name of it, we already know credit risk is mainly focused on counterparty defaults, default risk, and delay in payments or something, credit downgrades. So credit risk में ये सब है. Different tools through which you can measure credit risk, how credit risk is managed, transferred. So there are many things. There are many tools through which we can remove credit risk, mitigate credit risk, or we would like to take some credit risk as well, because no risk, no reward, as we already discussed and we know from FRM Part 1, right? Operational risk. So any risk which is not covered in market risk and credit risk is going to be covered in operational risk. Operational risk covers day to day business activities का risk. कभी machinery खराब हो गया, suppose if I am talking to you right now, if my camera malfunctions, if my mic malfunctions, it is a kind of operational risk for me, right? So those risks are covered in operational risk. It is, I believe, it is much more theoretical compared to market risk and credit risk. Operational risk is much more theoretical, and it is a developing area right now. Okay, operational risk is something that was not considered 20 years back. Okay, market risk और credit risk बहुत पहले से चलते आ रहे हैं, but operational risk बहुत ही नया है compared to in today's world as well. Okay, in today's time as well. Talking about liquidity risk, by liquidity we understand कि हम लोग के पास अगर liquid assets नहीं है, if we don't have cash when we require it, if we say we have to stress sell our assets, that's when liquidity crunch hit. 2008 and 9 का crisis का one of the major reason was this liquidity crunch. Banks did not have so much of liquid assets so that they can pay their liabilities during that time, and that is where they defaulted. And due to those defaults, इतना बड़ा crisis आया, people were laid off, many banks were closed, और government को भी बहुत कुछ face करना पड़ा. They had to go and rescue these banks. So liquidity is one of the major topics जिसकी वजह से it can lead to systemic risk. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा फ्लो एक जन डिफॉल्ट किया तो उसके कारण दूसरा जन डिफॉल्ट करेगा, उसके कारण तीसरा जन डिफॉल्ट करेगा. इट इज़ नोन एज सिस्टमिक रिस्क in professional word. So liquidity risk becomes important there. Investment risk is more towards portfolio management, factor theory, और ये सब पढ़ेंगे अपने कि what are the different factors we consider while creating a portfolio, कितना होना चाहिए, बीटा फैक्टर, ये सब है. So investment risk में वो सब आएगा. Okay. Current issues, as I already mentioned, it will talk about the hot topics during that time, right? Currently it may be more towards AI, HFT, high frequency trading and stuff. कुछ साल पहले it was more of before COVID and post COVID period. अभी भी COVID का होगा कुछ ना कुछ. So current issues, syllabus changes frequently, and it is more on the hot topic right now. अभी AI, machine learning और ये सब भी आ गए हैं. So उसके ऊपर ज़्यादा होगा in current issues. Now what are the weightages of these subjects? Market risk carries 20%, credit risk carries 20%, operational risk carries 20%, liquidity will carry 15%, investment risk will carry 15%, and current issues is gonna carry 10%. Now this percentages are distributed among 80 MCQs. There will be 80 MCQs, okay, in your examination. The examination will be of 4 hours and you're gonna need to answer 80 MCQs. Now what the issue is, current issues हम लोग सोचते हैं कि भाई ये तो खाली 10% है, क्यों पढ़े, इतना दिमाग क्यों लगाए. But imagine MCQs अगर वो 10% है, so there will be 8 MCQs from current issues. Now if you are unable to answer one of them, you're losing 1/8 marks there. That is 12.5%. Okay, so तुम्हारा 100% से 87.5% आ गया. In the same manner, market risk is 20%. Okay, that is if you lose if you incorrectly answer one of the market risk questions, you're going to lose 1/16%. That is merely 6.25%, right? So you are still left with 93.75%. Okay, so इसमें questions का weightage ज़्यादा होगा. You cannot afford to incorrectly answer current issues का questions more than 2 or 3, क्योंकि your quartiles you need to pass in each subject. You need to have a good quartile. Mostly 1-1-1 है तो best है, but किसी में 1-1-1 और 2-2 भी आ जाए तो चलेगा, बट 2 से ऊपर तो होना चाहिए क्वार्टाइल, राइट? ओके, क्योंकि टॉप 40% पास, यूजुअली द पास रेट इज अराउंड 40 to 50%, विच इज़ द टॉप 2 क्वार्टाइल्स ओनली. उसके नीचे यू कैन फेल. या ओके, So these are the subjects, these are the weightages. There will be 80 MCQs. 80 MCQs needs to be answered in 4 hours, that is 240 minutes. So for each question you are getting 3 minutes. 3 minutes for each question. अभी लग रहा होगा बहुत है, बट नहीं होता है. क्वेश्चंस बड़े बड़े होते हैं, क्वेश्चंस को समझने में टाइम लगता है, क्वेश्चंस का आंसर सोचने में टाइम लगता है. द MCQs are going to be very close. The option, if you have given FRM part 1, you already know. There will be 2 options that will be very close and कुछ भी कहीं पे भी गलत हुआ वो ऑप्शन में होगा वो वाला आंसर. ओके, तो देयर इज़ अ हाई चांस ऑफ मेकिंग मिस्टेक. सो 3 मिनट्स भी कम लगते हैं. इट इज़ गोइंग टू बी टाइम क्रंचिंग. टाइम इनफ नहीं है अपने पास एग्जैक्ट एडिक्वेट अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम होता है. दे गार्प इंश्योर्स दैट. ओके, right, and there are approximately 100 chapters. So you imagine you are going to prepare 100 chapters and questions are only 80. इसका मतलब पर चैप्टर एक क्वेश्चन भी नहीं आएगा. तो आई कैन नॉट से कि हाँ ये 20 चैप्टर छोड़ दो ना. तुम लोग खुद से कोई बोल सकता है नो वन कैन टेल यू टू लीव सो एंड सो चैप्टर्स, दिस आर नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट एंड नॉट गोना कम इन एग्जामिनेशंस. कोई भी चैप्टर से कोई भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. सो सिलेक्टिव स्टडी इज़ नॉट एन ऑप्शन. You need to be prepared thoroughly through the whole curriculum, through all the 100 chapters. Okay. So this is how FRM Part 2 curriculum looks like. Now moving to exam format and window. I think I've already talked about exam format. कैसे weightages है, what are the questions, how many questions will be there, and the duration of the examination. So time window, exam window कब है? Exam happens during May, August and November, as we already know. So May exams ख़त्म हो चुके हैं. We are gonna prepare for August and November examinations. People who have cleared exams in May, during May, I'd suggest you to appear for November examinations. Don't appear for August examinations क्योंकि it is very very close. People may do it, but I don't recommend it generally. क्योंकि if you have 3 months of time, utilize that. क्योंकि it is not easy to go through 6 chapters in 2 months. एक चैप्टर को प्रॉपरली गो थ्रू करने में 15 days मिनिमम लगता है. मिनिमम आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट, मैक्सिमम कैन बी एनीथिंग. सो इट्स बेटर नॉट टू टेक अ चांस. यू हैव टाइम, 3 months और एक्स्ट्रा ले लो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. नवंबर में तो बेटर होगा. Now talking about difference from part 1, क्या difference है? पहला बात तो subjects totally different है. In part 1 there were 4 subjects which were creating the building blocks, the foundations, right? So पहला तो foundations of risk management ही था. फिर it was quantitative analysis, then financial markets and products, then it's about valuations and risk models. So all the risks were distributed evenly throughout all the subjects. Now each risk has its own dedicated subject. So you may be working in market risk. You are not going to work in all the fields, okay, in the future. You may be working in market risk or in credit risk or in operational risk or in any other of the risks, okay. It's not possible for you to cover all the risks, but you should have the knowledge of all the risks if you are going to become an FRM. In future you may be take expertise in credit risk. Banks may hire you, okay. So क्योंकि there's a very high credit risk in banks. So or market risk, some consulting group companies or MNCs, portfolio management companies may hire if you are very good with market risk and investment risks. Okay. Now coming to difference from part 1. Now what are the major differences from part 1? Obviously subjects 4 के 6 हो गए, as we already discussed twice. Content, it's mixed. It's risk specific content for part 2. For part 1 the difficulty is somewhat less compared to part 2. Part 2 is very difficult. It is immensely difficult in understanding different models. There will be so many models. हर एक risk का अलग अलग model होगा. So it is going to take time for you to get accustomed with those models. Extreme value theory and stuff is little difficult एक बार में समझने में. It takes time, right, to settle in. Theoretically theoretical portions FRM part 2 में ज़्यादा होगा compared to FRM part 1. Part term में एक subjective quantitative analysis था. We don't have any quantitative analysis subject in FRM part 2, but there will be numericals, but less than compared to part 1. Okay, it is more theoretical and concept based. Part 2 passing. In part 1, you know, passing is much easier compared to part 2. Why? Because in part 1 you see you are in a group of people जो सभी नए हैं इससे part 1 से, मतलब FRM के कोर्स से. Now in FRM part 2 what happens is the 40% who cleared part 1 is giving part 2. So if I take data of 100 students, 40 students passed part 1. Now among those 40 students, 40% are gonna pass part 2. Maybe in their first attempt बात कर लो. तो out of 100, 16 people will pass so slow. Now you need to be in those 16 people. Okay, so that is 16%, coming to 16% from where you started. So obviously passing is much difficult in part 2, and one of the biggest challenges in part 2 you are gonna face is retention. Retention is very difficult, where you are going through very difficult models on a daily basis. Kabhi market risk का कर लिया चलो. Now you are going to start with credit risk. Once you are done with credit risk, you will not even remember what you studied in market risk. Okay. So और ये होगा. This is a very general thing to happen. It happened with me as well. It happened with my students as well. It will happen with you as well. It's a human mind. It's not there's no memory card in it. There's no certain memory space in it. Cloud भी नहीं है जो एक बार load कर दिया तो वो वहाँ रह जाएगा. We are tend to forget. We are not Suits का main character as well. I'm not remembering his name. So if you have watched Suits, you may be able to relate the guy with photogenic memory. So we are not that person. Okay, and if you are, congratulations, but in general नहीं होते हैं. So retention is going to be a challenge for you in FRM part 2. So what you need to do is you need to go through the curriculum again and again and again. Now how can you go through the curriculum again? Sir, आप बोल रहे हो 5 महीना में एक तो 6 सब्जेक्ट है और आप बोल रहे हो उस चीज़ को बार बार पढ़ो. नहीं, obviously नहीं. We are gonna provide you notes. You are gonna write your own notes as well. What is my strategy is कि when we study in class, we write notes as well. जितना notes लिखेंगे उतना content shorten होगा. What I do is I cross out the big portions and try to draw it using arrows or something or some picturization कर लेते हैं, visualization कर लेते हैं, which helps us to recall it very quickly rather than reading through the whole content. Okay, so it will make it you will make it easier for yourself while revising. जितना content को shorten करोगे उतना अच्छा है. Okay. So these are the main differences from part 1. Now materials. Which material should we use? Now I think for part 1 most of you have used Schweizer notes only, and for part 2 I recommend you to continue doing the same. Part 1 में भले ही GAP material use किया हो, part 2 में it becomes very difficult to go through GAP material. GAP material has very advanced level of writing as well as it is very informative. मतलब इतना information exam perspective से नहीं लगेगा. Obviously it is good if you go through GAP material. You are most welcome to do so. But from an exam point of view, exam perspective, Schweizer notes is much preferable compared to GAP notes क्योंकि language भी simpler है. It covers all the important points and whatever it doesn't cover, we cover it for you. We go through GAP material, we teach through Schweizer material, and we provide you extra additional details which are not in Schweizer materials. ऐसा बहुत rare chances होता है कि Schweizer material has missed something, but if it does, we provide you it. So I think we have covered it all. We have discussed about FRM part 2 subjects, the exam timelines, difference from part 1, the challenges. For the main challenge is retention. and how to go about it. How to go about it मैं और बोल देता हूँ. So what I used to do is I used to study 2 subjects together, because एक सब्जेक्ट करते करते बोर भी हो जाते हैं यार, कितना करेंगे. So it's better you start with 2 subjects each. कुछ भी पकड़ लो. We'll start with market and credit risk only, and दोनों साथ में पढ़ेंगे. फिर we are gonna, एक ख़त्म हुआ तो we are gonna pick a third subject. Once we are doing those 2 subjects, what we can do is after some time we can revert back to first subject as well. Just go through it. और कोई भी एक दिन एक्स्ट्रा पढ़ाई करने का मन कर गया, करना ही चाहिए, बट इट्स डिफ़िकल्ट, बट कर गया तो वी कैन गो थ्रू दैट सब्जेक्ट एंड उसका कुछ क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लिए कि एटलीस्ट इट इज़ इन योर माइंड कि हाँ क्या था उसमें, वो कम्प्लीटली भूल ना जाओ. फॉर दिस रीज़न ओनली. एंड डू प्रैक्टिस अ लॉट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस विल help you clear the examination. This goes for part 1, this goes for part 2, this goes for any other courses. I believe practicing questions is one of the best thing a person can do, and going through the curriculum again and again. Yeah, these are the 2 things that we should keep in mind. For GARP, for part 2, you should also appear for the mock examinations that GARP conducts. Those mock examinations are really helpful. It will help you in understanding what type of question comes in the examinations, and if you are lucky enough, I've told this in part 1 students as well, if you are lucky enough you can get a similar kind of question in part 2 in actual examination as well, which will help you. You will be like क्या मज़ा आ गया यार, मैच कर गया. You will be boasting to all your other friends कि मैंने mock दिया था and same question आ गया, भाई मेरा तो ये सही हो गया. You will end up getting out happy from the exam centers, I guarantee. So with this, I think this video has come to its end, and if you have any doubts, do contact us. The contact details are attached with this video, and thank you very much. Yeah. All the best.